Okay, so it looks like we're getting a Tarka ep. As always, I'm Al. This is the Geek in Review, and I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 10, The Great Barrier. So, we're maybe finally getting some 10C reveals, and the episode opens up with Kovic warns us what to expect, which is something, well, that you can't expect, and that makes sense. The showrunner Michelle Paradise has said the 10C aren't going to be like anything we expect. So what are we going to get with these guys? Well, physically, I think they're probably going to be very tall if they are physical. I think it's more likely they're going to be some sort of energy creature or being, a bit like the Vorlons if you've watched Babylon 5. And if you haven't, go and watch Babylon 5. It's free, it's on IMDb TV, and it's definitely one of the best sci-fi shows ever made. So check it out after the video, but leave a like first. I also have a theory that the boronite that they're mining, or the chemical or the mineral that they're mining, isn't something that's used for a power source. I think this is probably most likely used, or my guess is that most likely used as a drug in their society. So it's a bit like the way that we cultivate poppies and cultivate coca plants and turn that into drugs for mass consumption. I've just got a feeling, or a hope at least, that there's something more to this. But anyway, back to the episode. We get another actor from The Expanse showing up, and they're discussing First Contact Protocol, and the opening scene is they're all sitting around talking, which is sort of a metaphor for the show and this episode. I've said it in the last two reviews, but the pace of this and the amount of talking that goes on that doesn't forward the plot in this season of Star Trek Discovery is shocking. The pace should be miles ahead by now, and I'm not talking about in terms of action, I'm just talking about where the characters should actually be. They spent 2 episodes essentially talking about the actions they were doing and or not doing, and this episode, spoiler alert, is kind of the same. Before they set off, Relic tells Vance she wants to go, and she mentions the Vice President, so who is this? Is there going to be a reveal? There's a bit of a theory online that Michael could end up going into politics at the end of this season, because why not at this stage? So Book has finally decided to bin Tarka, and he's dropping him off, and Tarka as always makes an excuse. Speaking of crossing the Great Barrier, Tarka mentions that they need something called programmable antimatter to do it, and he does seem pretty well informed on what can survive and what wouldn't make it through a trip through the barrier, but as far as I'm aware, at no point when Discovery's at HQ did they mention getting programmable antimatter used on the ship, so how then can Discovery get through it? Writing, I suppose. So I'm not really sure that the writers know how science works in Star Trek anymore, because they end up going to some planet that Tarka was held on for some reason, and this is where we met his friend, and yeah, we get the backstory on that, but we're 10 episodes into this season, and there's been this sort of, carrot dangled in front of us that everything's on the line, and this is the 3rd episode that they're wasting time. So again, this is what I'm talking about when it goes back to the pace of this show, and this does take up a good 1/3 of this episode, I would say, and at this stage the season needs to deliver. So they built a portal, or designed a portal that was designed to go home that isn't their home, and Tarka betrayed his cellmate. So there's been a lot of complaints of Tarka, and quite rightly so, that he's not a very likeable character. So does that mean from this flashback everything that's terrible that he's done is just to make up for the one terrible thing that he did do originally? That's pretty confusing, and it's also pretty bad writing. And Saru's love interest goes on the mission as well, the Navarian president, and yeah, I'm kind of getting sick of this. These two are supposed to be adults, and they're acting like awkward teenagers. I mean, she's supposed to be the president of a planet, for God's sake, and I don't really get why they're trying to force this in, because it's not adding anything to the overall story, and it's not developing Saru's character, because we've spent 3 or 4 episodes teasing these characters, so again, this show is just failing to pay off, I've got to say. So they managed to jump to 9 years out of where the Great Barrier is, and they warp the rest of the way. And I don't know what I was expecting from the Great Barrier, but it wasn't this. It does look very organic, it looks like blood cells and sort of arteries and veins and things like that. But yeah, how did this go across the Great Barrier if it needs programmable antimatter, which Book and Tarka had to go on a side quest on to discover the story of Tarka's past, which we already knew, but we had to see it on screen to find out that Tarka betrayed someone, which we already know he's capable of because he's betrayed everyone about 3 or 4 times in this season already. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But there's another twist. The president got a message before they crossed the barrier, and the DMA is jumping somewhere near Earth and the wer're. So there's stakes in their stakes, and the president and Michael go back and forth about telling the crew. And this doesn't really make sense to me either, because they already know that huge planets and ranges and star systems are in jeopardy. So why would you hold this back for a crew that's venturing into the unknown? So the ship takes its time crossing the Great Barrier, which again I think is a great metaphor of this season, as it seems pretty stuck in its place, to locate the 10C, which I imagine they're probably going to do straight away without any issue in the next episode. So we get another slow burner in a now trilogy of slow burners for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, and man, like, we've only got a few episodes left. Did we really need the Tarka'S story? Why are they afraid of pushing forward? I mean, at this stage I can't really see there being any positive payoff no matter what the twist or the reveal is. I think if there is going to be a cliffhanger for this season, it'll end up that Discovery's stuck beyond our universe or something like that. But I'd like to know if you've got any thoughts on where this season's going and what you thought of this episode. Let me know in the comments below. If you've made it this far, please leave a like on the video and subscribe as well.